Get to it. Teddy now joining me at the desk. We got a little more elbow room today, my friend.
Sure, Jack's a couple thousand miles away.
Still not far enough. So once again, Beat the Odds is on the road this week. We sent Jack to Florida. He needed the sunshine. We needed the peace and quiet. So Jack, what is your take on this quarterback quandary these days?
Yeah, guys, so what's really surprising to me continues to be one of the top storylines in the league are the amount of quarterback turnover that we have going on week to week. When you consider that 3 out of every 4 starters from the week 1 have been injured, it's a unique year. Now you have, of course, the quarterbacks that typically have issues, or the teams that will make changes during the year. Think Desmond Ridder going out for Heineke. Heineke comes in, has 264 yards passing. So those type of things are expected. But beyond that, we've got some crazy things. Now, there's some good and some bad to that. The bad, obviously, what's going on in New York. If you're an offensive football fan and in the state of New York, there's something in the water in Manhattan, because we thought Aaron Rodgers was the end of this story. He was just the beginning. Daniel Jones is now out with a torn ACL. They're basically asking water boys or guys selling beer in the stands to come on and play quarterback. It's really, really down the depth chart there. It reminds me of high school a little bit when you go into a midterm and you really start thinking to yourself, gosh, I wish I had paid more attention in the first couple weeks of the semester. I might know some of this stuff. We wonder what preseason is good for. This is exactly what preseason could be good for. You get to see some of these guys actually play before it means something. So when we circle back and we have this type of injuries, we'll be able to know what we're actually looking at and be proactive to these changes as opposed to reactive, which is what most gamblers are doing right now. One of the good stories, though, obviously Josh Dobbs, he comes in, a surprising change. He goes from the West Coast, goes to Minnesota, a la Baker Mayfield that did this with L.A. last year, now here in Tampa Bay, playing for them, playing okay at times. Dobbs comes in. He hasn't even unpacked yet and doesn't understand the 2-minute drill, learning as he goes, but he takes Minnesota to a win. A really great story. But the turnover at quarterback has been the thing. Now, how do we take advantage of that? That's definitely been the issue. You've got to be proactive to these situations, not reactive. Understand that if you have a team that can balance it without the quarterback play, they're probably going to be better whenever they have a backup come in. So think San Francisco at the highest level. It doesn't seem no matter who's playing for them, they got a lot of weapons. So a good opportunity to make some money, but you certainly have to be on your toes, and very surprising this year.
All right, thanks, Jack, for that. Let's bring you in, Teddy. That's one of your bad beats, what we saw in Minnesota.
That was insane what we saw last week. Atlanta -3.5 against Minnesota, and Atlanta spends the week game planning for the backup quarterback, who then gets hurt in the first quarter, and the guy who's never taken a snap, never run a play in practice, just arrived 5 days earlier, catches fire. Atlanta with their best offensive game of the year, doesn't matter. Minnesota got the money. Tough beat in that regard. What about New Orleans and or over bettors? New Orleans -8, total is 42. Every play in the fourth quarter, every play run by Chicago, every play run by New Orleans, they were all run in Chicago territory, and yet they still couldn't punch in one more score. Eschewed the field goal. -8, no good. Over 42, no good. Houston -2.5 versus Tampa. This might have been the worst of the bunch. Houston loses their kicker in game. They scored the game-winning touchdown to go up by 2 and take a knee. -2.5, no good. Rough beat if you had Houston.
Hey, real quick, Teddy, we saw Las Vegas got a new coach, look like a whole new team. Is that sustainable, or is that going to be a one-week bounce kind of thing?
So the new coach bump is something that's real across sports, hockey, basketball, football. It tends to be a one-game thing. It doesn't always last forever. Certainly, what Las Vegas did last week was brilliant. I'm not convinced they'll do it twice in a row.
All right.